Follow us on Twitter at ghettoplex_mp4, on Instagram at ghettoplex.mp4, and on YouTube at ghettoplex. The Apprentice. This film is the polar opposite of the documentary that just came out called Vindicating Trump. It's the documentary Vindicating Trump it was disappointing because it's nothing new as far as information about Donald Trump. That's the pro Trump film of the year is Vindicating Trump, and the anti-Trump film of the year is The Apprentice. Vindicating Trump, where it fails, is that there's no new information about Trump that would persuade his opponents to switch over and support him. And The Apprentice is the exact same thing. There's no new information here that would persuade pro-Trump people to become anti-Trump people. So both of these films, I believe, fail at their goals because they're kind of preaching to the choir. In the beginning of the film, there's a little, you know how when there's like a biopic, it's, it'll say based on a true story. Well, in The Apprentice, it says essentially it's based on a true story, but we did fictionalize some things. So it's kind of like saying it's based on a true story, but not really. The true things in this film are Trump builds things, his brother dies, and Cohen dies from AIDS. The creative choices that I did like from the film is this, because it's between the 70s and the 80s, you see this transition aesthetically of traditional film from the 70s to videotape in the 80s, because the medium changes from film to videotape. So I was like, oh, that's a pretty clever way of telling the audience that we're no longer in the 70s, we are now in the 80s. And obviously they kind of go through into the new decade with a New Year's countdown, but you also see the change of timeline with 80s videotape for the film aesthetic. Now, Sebastian Stan, who plays Trump, definitely he's a little bit more, in the beginning at least, he's a bit more suave and cool. Well, I guess you could say he's shy, he's not confident, but then he becomes suave and cool. But I will say this, watching Sebastian Stan play Donald Trump, all it would make me think of is, God, I wish Shane Gillis was the real person cast as Donald Trump, because Shane Gillis on that Kill Tony stand-up episode where he plays Donald Trump and this other guy plays Joe Biden, that was the most hilarious thing. Honestly, this film, it's got a lot of funny moments in it, but if you watch that Kill Tony episode with Shane Gillis as Donald Trump, that is infinitely more entertaining than this movie. But I will say though, I didn't hate the movie. I was expecting to go in there and be like, oh, this is just going to be an anti-Trump film, which it was, but it was funny too. I don't know if this is supposed to be, I'm assuming because, this movie was made by a bunch of left-wingers, but they got these fag jokes in the film, and I think it's supposed to make you as the audience be like, oh my God, he made a gay joke. These guys are so bad. But the gay jokes they make in there are so funny. Unironically, maybe it's just because for an audience like me, someone who's not anti-Trump, I found it hilarious. But yeah, so the film, if you kind of know enough about Trump's past, you definitely see the fictionalized version of this story, especially with a lot of the cartoonish right-winger lines that I feel like whoever the writer was for this film was definitely this is how they imagine right-wing conservatives being or whatever. This is the way they imagine that they talk. So it was very noticeable that okay, you've never actually met a conservative or a Republican person. You're just, because it's a film and we're close to the election and you need to get the propaganda out, this is your way of trying to make them as dislikable as possible. But I found the film to be pretty funny. Their performances were, like I said, Sebastian Stan is no Shane Gillis, so there's definitely, Shane Gillis already takes the title for, whatever film adaptation we get of Trump. It really should be Shane Gillis who plays the part. But Roy Cohen, who is played by Jeremy Strong. Jeremy Strong is just, noticeably, obviously, he's like Kevin Spacey gay. He's just obviously gay. And I guess because they want Roy Cohen, they wanted to, I guess, kind of humiliate him because he died of I was going to say GAIDS, because he died of GAIDS. I guess it's not really, that's not false, because he did die of AIDS and he would have been involved in some gay activity. Yeah, so Jeremy Strong definitely was a correct pick to be that gay. And his portrayal of Roy Cohen and being this hilariously, cartoonishly villainous person, I thought the performance was good. Whether or not it was accurate, I can't say, because I don't know enough about Roy Cohen like that. I'm assuming because of the people who are involved in actually making the film, it is very propaganda specific. But I thought that his performance was very hilarious. There's a line in the film that really was hilarious. I don't even know if this is real or not, because who knows if any of these quotes, I'm sure like a couple of the quotes from the film were real, especially taken out of context. But Andy Warhol makes an appearance in the film, and Donald Trump asks him, what kind of art do you make? And then he says something along the lines of making money, and making money as an art. I thought that was pretty hilarious. Yeah, if Trump's real life was to be captured, I guess, appropriately, accurately, it would have to be done in a series. There's no way a single film could tell the story of a person like Donald Trump. You really would need like a very long series. And you would need people who are not brain rotted by politics. Because you can't have some right-wing people to just make him out to be a saint. And you can't have some left-wing people who their only goal is to be incredibly biased and tell a completely fictional story. So it's going to be very difficult for a long time. I don't think we're going to get a decent Trump story. Probably not even for the next 5 decades, if that. But yeah, the movie ends kind of on a Donald Trump's political ambitions with Roger Stone, and they kind of throw in the MAGA line as if this is the origin of where he got the idea from MAGA. And he praises the Soviets for some reason. I guess, well, the reason is because this is a propaganda film and they want you to think, dang, he was into the Soviets back then. But it doesn't make sense because Cohen helped McCarthy against commies. So why would he admire the Soviets when they were all very anti-communists? Trump and Cohen and McCarthy, all these people are anti-communists. So why would he be praising the Soviets at the end of the film? That's the extreme propaganda part. Like, that's just one extreme propaganda part. But yeah, so this movie, definitely, I only watched it so I could discuss it with you guys about it. But other than that, I would not have wasted my time with this film. I did enjoy the funny parts, but I wouldn't support it financially. I mean, I guess I did, but I wouldn't encourage you guys to don't make the same mistake I did by supporting it in the box office. Anyways, follow us on Twitter at ghettoplex_mp4, on Instagram at ghettoplex.mp4, and on YouTube at ghettoplex. See you guys in the next one.